Well, good morning. Welcome to the August 18th, 2023 Alabama Chapter ASSP meeting. Welcome all those from Zoom and in attendance. If you would please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brady, would you do a prayer for us, please?
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to get together, to fellowship, to share ideas. We ask you to bless us. We ask you to bless our companies. We ask you to bless the employees that we have, and that we be able to maintain our goal and protect these people and protect all these things. We thank you for blessing. We thank you for answering prayers, and we're most grateful and praise thee. Amen.
Keep with the same form we've had before. Randy, we're to let you lead on with your presentation. Today's presentation is on OSHA safety and health management guidelines. Randy Easley is the supervisor of safety and health at the University of Alabama Safe State Program. He's got plenty of years in safety and health, and we're going to appreciate and enjoy his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. We're going to talk today essentially about safety management. This isn't really a regulatory issue, but it is something that impacts us actually being successful. You know, the things we do, the things OSHA requires, that it works. Now, with this, we're going to be basing this discussion off some voluntary guidelines OSHA has, and it's all safety management issues. This is not mandated, it's not required, but it is very close to the ISO 14001 issues, the management issues we get with 45,000 guidance. But it's a plan, and it's supposed to relate to business. It's supposed to relate to how we do things. Now, we all recognize this person. We agree he's successful. As the University of Alabama, we're going to say yes, he's successful. He's got a management book yet. And he talks about the process. He talks about how to do things. It's a plan. It's preparing. It's having a team. It's equipping your team. Doing the training, building the groundwork, setting the foundation. And this should all essentially make sense. I mean, I start off with talking to people about your own company. Are you successful? Are you well managed? The answer is always yes. There's this tendency to basically make safety something we do different, something that is separate. And a large part of what we need to be doing is incorporating it into everything else we do. Don't make it special, don't make it complicated. Understand we need to integrate it into our business function. Because everybody talks about this from the perspective of OSHA. Compliance, what OSHA requires for injuries. Well, injuries are part of it, but when we're looking at this, we're looking at cost factors. And you're in business to make money. That's why businesses exist. And safety needs to be looked at as a return on investment. A means by which we do things properly, we do it well, and it's all part of our bottom line. It's an investment that saves us money, returns. And the whole thing is planning how you do your business, how you do your tasks. This is something to be included in it. Because when we look at these things, you can't separate out loss. Every time we've had major safety and health initiatives within a company, engineering controls, different things along those lines, if they're planned, if they're done correctly, they're going to benefit production. You're going to have a better product. You're going to have a better process. You have a means of actually improving it. And safety is part of that. And it's just part of the integration where we are improving the process. Instead of it being, this is safety, that's their job, they're over here. Everyone has a role. And that's kind of the message. All right. These are the elements that are in the OSHA guidance for safety management. Management leadership, which is a given, starts there, send the message, expectation, allocation of resources. Second thing we look at is worker participation. And with that, you're basically looking to get all levels of the company involved, getting input from the people that are actually doing the job, you know, to give you ideas. And that's valuable. One thing years ago, I was out doing a survey. And, you know, an industrial hygienist, plant manager, who's an engineer, we're getting ready to the operator comes up and like, "Hey, we need to move those controls in this area over there. Would that do the same thing?" We looked at each other, yeah, good. So basically for $50 an hour of maintenance time, it was safe before I left that day. But, you know, we want to build 9 big walls. Hazard identification is something. This is just looking, determining where your problems are. JHAs. You know, what are the issues we have? Next step. What's our hazard prevention and control methods? We engineer it out, we have processes, we have PPE, some combination of all these things. But you know, the reason we exist, not just to find things, but to be problem solved, come up with solutions. And again, that's where we need the participation of everyone to be able to come up with the right solution. Not just what we think, but input. Then education and training. Making everyone understand what the issues are, understand what the hazards are, and, you know, doing effective training on how to work safely and what the process is. And this, again, goes back to the original message. Integrate this into your process, into your manufacturing process. You know, if you look at this, safety should not be the separate topic that you're teaching them to do that's separate than how they do their job. It needs to be incorporated in telling them, training them on how to do it properly. How do we do this? How do we make the product? And as part of that, we're making the product where they're doing it safe. We don't have injuries. We have good quality. We have good production flow. It's an integrated process. I mean, we talked about Coach Saban a minute ago. You know, when you go out there, it's not like we've got the special process or the running backs, this for the line. It's the team product. That we're ready for. Same thing with this. What we're looking to do. A lot of times, your competitive edge is your cost factor. You've got competition. And sometimes that return can be the difference in terms of what environmental and safety costs are. So if you're efficient, you can demonstrate that, and your value as a safety professional is increased to the company. So again, this is part. At the end, program evaluation improvement. Part of the message of this is continuous improvement. All the things you learn in management classes, same thing. Evaluate what's going on, evaluate how you're doing it. Just don't do it once. It's something you need to be doing repetitively over time and coming up with improvement. It needs to tweak the system. There's always going to be a way to improve. There's going to be better technology. And that's something we need to be very prepared for. You know, there are industrial machine standards that are coming out next year. This is OSHA. OSHA will be on the edge of this. This is, you know, industrial standards by advisory groups. And a lot of what they're looking at with that is the technology. It needs to improve the equipment. And a lot of it deals with cybersecurity because so much of this equipment is going to be integrated. And, you know, somebody can basically send a message to a robot, to a boiler, whatever it is, and hold your company ransom, damage equipment, blow up something. You know, this is all part of it. So the concept we'll go mechanical running on its own is getting very, very in the rearview mirror as the overall processes that we look at, you know, enhance more technology. That's going to be part of our challenge, is to understand the machine, how this works. Lockout being the thing. I mean, a number of companies we have dealt with over time that the main problem was they didn't understand how to lock their equipment out. They didn't understand how that machinery worked. They did not know how to energize it. They completely energized it for what they were doing. So this is part of the coming challenge as well. Leadership. Communicate your commitment. This is important. We mean it. This is what we expect you to do. Define goals. Not just zero injury, but specific things you want to accomplish, whether it's improvement of training, integration of equipment, development of some program, some situation. Know what you need to do and have a time frame for it. A lot of times these time frames are going to be sequential. You're not going to be able to do it all at once, and it's going to change over time. So do something realistic. Okay. Allocate resources. Okay. What does that mean? First thing we say is money, and that's true. But a lot of it's also time and internal resources. Are you going to have maintenance support to get something done? What's their priorities? Engineering, design, different things along those lines. To get this done, it's like, okay, you're a safety person, you go take care of that. Not realistic. Who works for the safety guy? Nobody. So who do you report to? So what's your ability to leverage somebody to do this, that, the other thing for you? Not a lot. So this is where the ownership of the company, general manager, whoever is in charge day to day needs to be committed. And if they realistically want this to happen, they're going to have to be involved. And the last step of this is the management actually measuring performance. Who's doing what when? Are the supervisors supportive? Are the engineers supportive? Are all these groups supportive? Are they accomplishing their goals? What can we do better? So you're looking to see if you're being effective. So again, this is not regulatory. This is business.
One of the things, so I'm technically not a safety professional. I'm a physical therapist in the role that I'm in. I'm a salesman. And this becomes like the main way when we deal with companies and we want them to implement our product, we have to be able to show it just becomes this large continuum. Well, the safety professional comes to us from the company and says, we want to do something to cut down on injuries. Management says it's too expensive, we can't do that. They come back to us and they say, well, how can we make this work? So we put together an ROI for them and say, look, your safety guy does not have time to do all this stuff. If you were to implement some of these ideas, your return on this investment would be this much money. You would cut injuries by this much. You would save this much on insurance and work comp costs. With that amount of money, you could hire another person and still have a lot of profit to be able to do this program and still be in a better position than where you are right now. So the performance part is not just like how well did this process work, like, these are the end data numbers, but like, what is it? Because unfortunately with a lot of leadership, the number that's going to change their mind is the dollar. It's not necessarily the injury or the non-production or the whatever. It becomes dollars in my nation from this.
But that is part of it, where you have to show the cost associated with it. And that's the one thing when we talk about safety being an investment rather than a cost, and it's looked at as a cost, is the understanding of what it does benefit in terms of production costs, in terms of quality cost, in terms of savings on a lot of things. And the real thing is, a lot of times the business people don't understand this. They are not really business people. They don't understand their cost. They don't understand their control. They don't understand their businesses. We see that in a lot of places. I mean, there are companies I've gone to, and basically when we put this in, this was basically the first time they really implemented a management system for anything. I mean, anything. I mean, there are places I've been into as an industrial hygienist, and we're there doing all that sampling, and I'm watching the way product flows. I'm watching what's coming in the door, the amount of time they are waiting for something to be delivered, before they can actually run. So I've got people that are being reassigned to do this or the other thing. That's inefficient just because they're trying to keep them busy, because just-in-time delivery didn't work. And, trucks here, but we haven't got any product to ship. They got logistics waiting. So all these things are wrong. But it also goes into just being efficient and being profitable. And I think your point, the whole thing is This is money. This is about the margin, and a lot of times we can make this. Problem is everything's done in terms of OSHA cost and injury cost. And we need to incorporate other input costs. Image, ability to get contracts. I mean, my first job was with a Fortune 50. We had a fatality, it was strange. Company was very good. North Carolina was a little bit find anything. So a general duty clause violation for not taking the on-site test that was 6 months old. And it's $500. So the newspaper basically said the company can kill somebody for $500. You got a clue how much money was spent on image? Just outreach, requirement, sales, getting employees. All that's part of it, especially now when we're looking at the workforce. That's a dangerous place. I don't want to go there. I mean, we hear the number of people that come and go is because they show up a day and stop. Don't want to do this. And how much have you put into trying to hire them, trying to train them? Anyway. Management, again, what we talked about. Find your goals, set your priorities, develop an action plan. How do we look to do this? Assign tasks, who's doing what, where, what's their responsibility, our plan, our policy, our checking up to make sure people are doing what they're doing and doing it effectively, resources. I think we all know what's important to our corporations. How do you know what's important? How do they convey that message? For this, they need to be showing real visible support. Things how they want you to get something done, they should be doing that. Also, it's good to have a mission statement, which is just the priorities, the values of this company. The problem is so many of those things read like the same template. They're not taken seriously. So, put the specifics. Okay, worker participation. Encourage their support. Part of this is their working safely. Part of it's getting their input. Things we could do better. And a lot of times that's not really valued. A lot of times it's not solicited. A lot of times it's just sort of, yeah, thank you. But I mean, really listen, have the people you understand, get their input. Have a meeting where they report safety concerns. A lot of times these are real issues. And, body aches, issues, things that may not raise to recordability, but affects somebody wanting to be there. It also affects how productive they are. Give them access to information. Let them really understand what's going on. And this is part of it. I've heard back when I was doing this, I remember a meeting, we had people talking about hazard communication. There was an OSHA guy there. And it evolved in discussion about labeling this and all the minute things that go on with hazard communication. One thing that's missed in all the discussion was actually communicating hazard of the products to the employees that have training, not just go read the SDF. It's not like we need to do the process screening. Here's what this does, but just let them understand. You could get this, you can get dermatology, you can get this from this, and you do this in this manner so that doesn't occur. Start having these problems, let us know. And we need to look at if we're having those problems. And it's just an indicator of the problem. Same thing is true with lockout, same thing is true with machine guarding, same thing is true with the process. So give them information, involve them in the whole process, the input, the training. Part of the thing that we stress is getting employees to, mentorship with the other employees, new people, assigning a new employee to them, developing that sense of camaraderie, that sense of teamwork. But if you get their input, if you get their understanding, it's important. One of the things that we'll talk about this a little bit in a minute, but self-assessments, your self-inspections of your facility. If we actually get that responsibility to the employees and give them responsibility and ownership of the workstations, that is your most effective training tool. Relate it to what they're doing, give them responsibility, Other thing you'll find that we found is that when they're given ownership and responsibility for their area around them, and they're given real training about things to look for, not just housekeeping, general, what it means. There's a cause and effect thing that happens. They realize when I do that, this causes this, and that's a negative thing. And you find these things don't happen because they understand cause and effect. And they're held responsible and given the power to actually fix these things. If they can't, who they need to report it to, your tracking system. But a lot of these things become simplified. You don't have a lot of effort tied up. Employee activity, safety committee. Safety committee is whatever you put it into it and how it works. What you expect from it, the resources it gives it. If it's a monthly meeting that says we're having a safety committee meeting, not going to do a lot. But if you've got real expectations, real goals, real defined outcomes, they can give you input, they can identify problems, they can be involved in self-inspections, they can be involved in planning, they can be involved in training, mentoring, developing employees. Now, supervisors have that responsibility, but this is basically leveraging the resources you already have. And we talk a lot about incentive programs, and OSHA talks about it from the point of view, you're not reporting injuries. Well, there's a lot of things you can incentivize employees with the things you want done, things that are important to you. And, whatever the reward is, whatever the benefit is, sometimes it's recognition. I've always been fascinated by what people will do for a t-shirt. Doesn't matter what it says, it's like, I got a t-shirt. I got a hat. That can be a very small investment with a big return. And it's whatever works for them. Whatever it is, ice cream day on Friday. I don't know. This comes down to what works for your location. There's no one answer to everything. It's a concept. Hazard identification. Do the assessments, find the hazards. Classify them. What's your priority? What do you need to fix first? Everything's supposed to be fixed. And sometimes these hazards aren't necessarily an OSHA violation. It's something that can prevent a risk to the product, it can cause an injury, whatever it is. Develop interim controls. What are we going to do to do this until we can get the absolute final control in place? Which understand the final control will change too. This is a moving target. You've got instant action. You can turn the policies. And the bad news is every time I have a company tell me this employee did this really stupid thing we couldn't believe. Why was that? Data that we get from all of our sources. It basically says at least 80% of the contributing causes of an incident or property damage is due to management. Failure to plan, failure to train, failure to supervise, failure to provide adequate resources. Didn't put in the right controls, did not plan. That covers a lot of it. So I guess our next question is why isn't it 100%? Because if the employee does something, you weren't supervising them to see that they did it properly. Because it is our experience, whoever we are, that this isn't the first time this happened. And OSHA gets into a lot of things, and it's like, oh, this and oh, that. And what they find out is when it's some incident that probably shouldn't have been happened, but the real problem is somebody told them to do it that way, or they've been doing it, management knew it, and they didn't stop them. Matter of fact, they might have rewarded that behavior. So you need to analyze your workforce, you need to look at what's going on, and control all of those issues. Hazard assessments. AHA. Assessments by IH and safety, routine self-inspections. Have a tracking system. You find something wrong, it's important to make sure that the hazard is completed. Sign a responsibility, then go back and make sure it's there. Some manager up the food chain needs to be going back and checking on that to make sure it's done. And that's the other part about this, assignment of tasks. You know, working upward, even to president of the company, where he's got responsibilities to verify things are done. Surveillance of controls. Basically, supervisors need to be making sure guards, voice controls, ventilation, whatever you've got is working the way it's supposed to. And this should be something they should be able to do as they're just doing their morning check of the area. You know, it's not that complicated. You know your space. That's part of the issue, is actually paying attention to your space. A lot of people are like, we want y'all to come in because we're so used to everything. If there's something wrong, we can see it. Okay, we need to address that. Change analysis. When we're going to add new equipment, when we're going to change the process, are we looking at that? Ultimately, we see so many new machines being added that you've got to basically walk around. It's in the flow of traffic. And by the way, you put it in this location, it's kind of loud. There's no enclosures. There's nothing to maintain it. And you've just put 57 more employees in your hearing conservation program, or they're over their PEL. And if we had put it somewhere else, not the issue. It can be the same thing with storage of flammables. But the other thing too, when we talk about hazard assessments, I skipped this on the last slide. Look at the things you don't do every day. What are the non-routine tasks? What's the maintenance? What's the cleanup? What's that thing that's a process we do once a year? It's a special product. Pay attention to those things. I mean, the number of people that have died going into a confined space, the number of people that have had respiratory issues because of some unusual operation. I can think of one client I worked with. Non-hazardous business. It's almost like a office type thing. They opted to have their concrete floors sealed during work hours. 3 people went to the hospital. I got another company, 6 employees. I'm still trying to figure out the air patterns on this. Basically, the truck's out idling in the middle of the night. I got 6 people sent to the hospital for carbon monoxide issues. Non-routine task. I tracked down a forklift that basically I just have to have a direct reading device going. It was putting out carbon monoxide like crazy. I mean, I had like 30 parts per million according to the 4-gas meter carbon monoxide. So I'm looking at the exhaust, the heat, all this stuff. And finally, it's like, well, that forklift came through. So we found the forklift. It was putting out about 600 parts per million carbon monoxide out of its tailpipe. They shut it off, got rid of it. How long was that going to take? And this isn't about what I found. This is just things I've run into. Everybody has, but you need to know to look at these things. Hazard prevention. Look at your control options. There's always a different and better way to do it. Select the controls, put the plan in, how it's going to be done, implement the control, verify they're effective. The thing is, you're going to do that. I think we know this. If you're doing controls, that tends to take care of things. Hierarchy of controls, engineering, administrative. If you have your programs, have a sound housekeeping plan. A lot of injuries by people trying to get around things. Emergency response. What do we do if something goes wrong? We get a lot with construction, and they have fall protection plans, and they're kind of preparing to fall. Successful fall. You're hanging there. Okay, everything's good. What's going to do? How you get them down? I mean, we don't close the loop a lot of times. Our safety programs have a signed path, have accountability. If you've got employees that aren't doing this, what do you do? That's 3-strike discipline program. But what if you've got a supervisor or a manager having problems? What do you do to correct their abilities? What's your program for upping their game? What kind of plan do you have in place to actually improve their performance? The means by which we work with them to make them better. Now, we can't change who people are, but we can look at what we can do to equip them to be successful. I mean, there's so many places. You take your best lead guy, most experienced guy, he's a great welder. You've been here, you're dependable. you know, you're the supervisor now. He has no knowledge of how to do it. He's used to being one of the boys. He needs to be told what to do, and now he's supposed to tell people what to do. Okay? Is he doing us a disservice, or are we doing him a disservice? Now, we're talking about a good employee. We want to promote those people. He probably has the ability to be a really great supervisor, but he has to be developed. And that goes back to coaching, you know, a la Nick Saban. You know, hey, yes, I'm the guy who went to Auburn, by the way, but anyway. But he's got a great program. I would love nothing more for him to just do a session on the process, on the training, on the program. You know, he wrote a book on it. And it applies to everything. It applies to what we do. It applies to everything. Education and training, program awareness, training management on what their role is. Not just a matter of what OSHA says, but what their role is, because they may not know. You know, they're part of this. They need to know the repercussions. Now, one thing we do with training employees on their role, what they're supposed to do. There's all this OSHA mandated training to do. Are we accomplishing it? You know, hi, we're telling you about OSHA. Employee may not care. It may not be effective. You need to train them on what your expectations are. Don't talk to them about OSHA. They don't care about OSHA. You know, you need to get the message as how it relates to them, why it's in their best interest, and that we do all this, not for OSHA, but for them to be in one piece, same way you came in that you left out. You know, hold on. New employee training, that takes up a lot of time. A lot of time, you know, you have to wonder how effective it is. You have to do it before they hit the floor, so figure out how that is, how you do it. Basic awareness. Then you're looking at training them on the job as it applies to them, because you got to follow up on that training to make it effective. Supervisors need to be trained on hazards, controls, and their responsibilities. What's the responsibility of a supervisor? Hey, get that product out the door. Supervisors need to understand that their role is to make sure company policy is obeyed, whatever that is. It can be, you got to show up for work on time. It can be cleanliness. It can be dress. It can be the way you relate to other employees. Whatever it is, you know, you do this. And a lot of this is, you know, respecting the employee and expecting them to respect everybody else. You know, simple message. Managers, the same thing. So when do you do it? What are your techniques? Is it effective? It was just a big information dump that made everybody tired, had a headache, and you don't remember what they said. You know. So is it effective, and how do you make it effective? And usually it's by do the initial message and then do follow up. You know, what's expected when you're actually there. Program evaluation, monitor performance and verification, verify the programs implement, identify current shortcomings. Keyword. Okay. See, always a means for improvement. Yeah, I did that on purpose, just like and identify improvements and repeat. This is the whole thing. Wash, rinse, repeat. Evaluation. Is it effective? Evaluate everybody's performance from, you know, the janitor to the president of the company. Do you have performance reviews? The safety part of it, you know, is that part of your, you know, what your bonuses is? Whatever your system is this included in accountability and have responsibility at all levels? This is the book this is all based on. You know, and basically, if you just, you know, get that on OSHA.gov. I usually bring some with me, but they're packed up in our boxes right now. I don't know where they are, but we'll take care of that. And if you just, you know, Google OSHA safety management guidelines, you know, that'll come up. But, you know, OSHA.gov.
Probably download that as a PDF.
Yeah, you can. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Randy, they moved it to a toolbox page now.
Okay.
I used to be, we go A through S's, you could go there, but now they moved it to a toolbox page and it's buried on the page.
Well, basically, if you go to OSHA.gov/safety health program SHP guidelines, it comes up. And It's basically this. This is something we do, something called Safety and Health Achievement Recognition Program. It's designed for small employers, basically 250 and less at site, 500 in business for more than a year, have injury rates below your industry average, be OSHA compliance, have one of these programs that we evaluate through something we call the Safety and Health Management System. Don't have incentives associated with injuries, you got to work through OSHA consultation. What this does is it exempts you from routine OSHA inspections, and it's a recognition, it's an award to OSHA for safety. This is essentially VPP through small companies, or small companies through consultation. So in Alabama, you work with us as opposed to working with OSHA region.
Well, it's not officially VPP, but it's basically the same thing.
Same thing.
Okay.
This is for small businesses, and you deal with us here in Georgia Tech and Georgia, that type of, as opposed to dealing with the regional office of OSHA for VPP. And VPP is really a big company thing. They have less things, but this is something we do, and nobody seems to know it. Years ago, we had 30-something companies in it. Right now, we've got one, and we're complacency. OSHA's changed some rules about size, and it gets sort of complicated when you get into companies that are small companies that are now owned by Warren Buffett, so the definition of size comes in. Form 33, same things. This is our evaluation. We can get you a copy of that. And, hazard anticipation, detection, hazard prevention and control, planning and evaluation, administration, supervision, safety and health management, leadership, employee participation. If y'all actually want us to come in and just, look at your safety management system, I mean, we can do that. That's what we do a lot. Come in and tell you how to comply, but we can also work with you on programs and on big picture things. Major activity, self-inspections, accident investigations, hazard reporting, JHA, change analysis controls, preventative maintenance. Do not forget that. Injury analysis, task assigned and defined, accountability, performance training, management, safety, employee, basic things. It's pretty comprehensive in terms of making this work. But it's all about really taking what you already do to be successful, and it's going to incorporate parts of this. Applying safety, a large mess. I mean, I had a supervisor one time who was totally wanted nothing to do with this. And we're working with them. And when we were talking, we're just two of us in a room. And I'm like, and he looked at me and said, "That's all I have to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." He didn't understand. He was intimidated by the concept of safety. I can do that. And he did. He was great at it. But it was that buy-in, that not understanding, because everybody turns this into $5,000 words. Anyway, what do you get out of it? Improved image, improved process, better morale, employee recruitment and retention. We actually want to work here. Profit, return on investment. So, in all this stuff, you're in business to make money. And if that margin, that your product is a little bit cheaper to your competition is what you can save in safety, hey, that makes you an MVP for your company. Bottom line, what works for you? How do you manage everything else? Does it work? Figure a way to fit this into it. It needs to work for you. Involve everyone. We talk about a lot of management systems. A lot of them are top down, bottom up, or somewhere in between. Whatever you do, it's going to require both of them. It's going to require the commitment of everybody and their input. And this is a people system. You've got to involve people. You've got to relate to people. You've got to communicate with people. So until we've got nothing but robots, you need to be able to know this is about people. And if we get just robots, we're not going to have a safety business. We'll just have maintenance people. So understand that they can do this and simplify it. Don't make it overly complicated. Just, this is what you need to do to make it work. Success, team effort, management priority, commit adequate resources and time, Role of supervisor is critical. They've got to be involved. They are the ones that convey the message to the team that you're working with. Whatever they think, that's going to be what works out. Plan, develop procedures, and continuous improvement. This is me if you need anything. Tom can always get a hold of me, obviously. Any questions, anything you want to talk about? This is where we get to hear what works for y'all and what y'all think are important. Okay. With that, thank you for your time and attention. And we're always here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Andy, that's what you get. Well, you know, yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation, the coveted Alabama chapter mug, microwave safe, dishwasher safe. Enjoy.
Better than a t-shirt.
It is better than a t-shirt because
You know what I'm proud of Tom for doing? He has returned the word coveted. He emphasized it because the first meeting I went to years ago, it was the coveted. So the ASSP tradition. Thank you.
Those are better cups than the old one because they're bigger.
If ours were prettier.
Was it? Yeah, put mine on. I'll get you out well before 1 o'clock so you beat the traffic. The old people know the Flintstones cartoon. They're a bunch of idiots trying to get home because they think they're in Indianapolis 500 trying to, or the Indianapolis Rock 500, they used to call it in the Flintstone cartoon. Maybe you broke it.
No, it's not that. I've got to touch it.
Okay.
Okay, I will hold on a second. There you go.
Okay. New members or guests today at all that have never been here? Everybody's been here before?
I haven't been in a long time, so I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Faith Givan. I'm an associate EHS specialist at Southern Research Institute. So I've been a member for quite some time, but I'm reappearing.
Well, I guess I can reintroduce myself too then. My name's Wayne Jackson. I think the last meeting I came to was February 2022, because I've been elected to work on Fridays until this week. My schedule changed, so I am now not working on Fridays, so I can actually come to the meetings.
Good.
Well, welcome again, Wayne. See
I
ya.
thought you retired. That's about
I
it.
did retire. I got refired But I'm also the area director, so this is my official visit to your chapter for the year, so.
You can always come over anytime you
And I'm coming anytime I want, but this is my official visit, so. I want to write this down as my official visit for the year. I'm supposed to go to all the chapters, so that includes North Alabama, Mobile, and the 2 Mississippi chapters in Hattiesburg and Jackson, so. I will be doing some traveling this year.
Well, just to make you aware, UH Safe State and Deep South Center for Occupational Safety and Health both have a lot of training going on right now. Now the college is back in session, summer's over. There's a ton of training going on. Go to the website, you'll see a bunch of courses that they have. Deep South Center for UAB usually focuses on noise, respiratory protection. Safe State will have a lot of stuff like 501, 511, maybe a noise course, maybe a confined space course, record keeping like that. So they'll have a lot of other. Everybody knows the governor's conference is starting basically next Sunday. People arrive. It's a week from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If you ever get the opportunity to go, it's really a good small size conference that's put on by a state. It's well represented. We have people coming from all over the country, presenters and attendees that really like the Alabama Governor's Safety and Health Conference. So it's been going for 38 years now, something like that. What's this?
First one I want to say was in 1987. I think that was the first.
So it's been going well over 30 years. Unfortunately, we have somebody coming from our shark company who's known as a hurricane person. Every time it's been canceled, he's been coming. So you know, the golf club's here right now. I expect something to grow.
Thank you for that message.
Yes. You also know we're in trouble if I get a room that looks at the golf. In that room, we've had cancellation. For today's meeting, I want to talk about committees. Before COVID, we had committees, individuals in the sections and chapters were involved on these committees. I'd like to bring them back, and I'd like to have your involvement in these committees. And some of the committees that I'm looking to fill is membership, bring more members into the chapters and sections. Really important programs, and I'd like to see somebody from construction, general industry, environmental, other on the committee to bring in really good programs that we can have during our section meetings or chapter meetings. And I'd also like to have a representative who keeps up on government affairs and keep us abreast of what's going on through OSHA, EPA, and other government organizations. And then I want to have a recognition luncheon event. We haven't done it in 2 years. It's important to bring that back. Everybody enjoys it. We usually do it in April. We have a nice lunch. We bring in all the sections are invited. The student sections are invited. So it's a real good time. And I'd like to see somebody get involved on a committee on that. So we have a nice recognition luncheon. You'll be developing the certificates that we hand out to our long-term members. We have members who've been here 50 years. Isn't one of over 50 years, I think? John Places, almost 50 years. I got a couple that I just talked to at 35 plus years.
Steve Willis is getting close to being
He's getting close, yeah. Want to bring back scholarships, or try to. We used to do scholarships. We haven't done that in a couple of years. In the past, we gave a scholarship to Auburn University, Jackson State, and then to the UAB. I like to really cut it back and do one larger one, and we give it to a student who isn't going to college paid by their company. Somebody could actually use the money to help pay for college. Something to look for next year. I like to see some people involved with PDCs. The section this January down in the I-95 corridor did a little get together over at Auburn University, which was really nice. I'd like to see them do a half-day PDC for the Auburn, Opelika, Montgomery section, maybe in January at Auburn University. There's some good professors there who would probably like to put on a presentation or two about what they do in college. We can get CEUs for it, do a little breakfast in the morning, and as well as do one up here at the main chapter. And then I'd also like to bring back the SPY, Safety Professional of the Year, both for the chapter sections, as well as maybe submit one to regional, if we can find a person who's really dedicated themselves to the chapter and ASSP and safety. Okay. That's really all I have. So I'm looking for volunteers to help the executive committee do all the things we'd like to start doing again. Our next meeting will be September 15th. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Anybody want to join right now one of the committees? Let me know what they're interested in.
I'll join a committee.
Pardon?
I will join a committee. I'm not sure which one yet. So I'll offer that I've been working with BIS, Blacks in Safety Excellence, along with Emmanuel Winful, who's a part of our chapter, on increasing membership for ASSP, BIS, and my other professional org, AIHA. And so for me, it's really important to, I guess, increase the visibility of ASSP among safety professionals in the area, especially for me among minorities, especially because it's a lot of us, but it's also a lot of minorities that are represented that don't necessarily know about ASSP as a resource. So I can help with membership. And if you need what I consider a valuable opinion on anything, I'm definitely willing to hop on and have some conversations and figure out where I'm best used. So,
you know, with Zoom capability, although we've had, you know, less people showing up on Zoom, it allows them to come to the meeting without having to drive, you know, from the other side of the city over in Bessemer, which can be a mess on Fridays, 4:59 or 2059, there's a wreck.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get home to spend their paycheck.
I love your idea, and I think one of the challenges that we run into here, and it's the same with, I think, most businesses, most organizations, like our product, the information, organization, the product is great. How do we get it out there to people that it matters to? And how do we let them know that we're doing something? How do we let them know that we're meeting and that we're doing education and that we'll be able to provide CEUs and that we're having this activity? Like, how do we blast that out and make sure that it hits the people who need to consume it? And so that's one of our challenges, and we've discussed it a little bit as an executive group. We don't have the answer yet. So anybody that has information on that, how they think we can get the message out there.
Well, it's making a connection because everybody wants to understand how it benefits them, right?
What's
So,
in it for me?
You know, people always want to know, well, if I come, like, how's it gonna help me?
Right, what do
And
we
so
do?
really like connecting, you know, that dot, you know, saying this is why it will help you. This is why it will help you in your job. This is why it will help you professionally. This is how it might help you personally. And I always joke because I am fairly new to safety, but I'm like, okay, I'm off to go sit around all these men in polo shirts, you know? And I love y'all and y'all, you know? And it's great because I learn a lot, but it's also sometimes daunting to go into an environment with people that don't look like you know, having to navigate these things, having to establish yourself as a subject matter expert in a room where people don't always view you as such, you know, so just trying to help others see what the resources are, see how to navigate being a woman in safety or being a man in safety, or to help the men in safety understand the challenges that exist within other groups, you know, will also be really, really helpful. So we need to do some more DEI and not just say we do DEI, but actually have something that we can hang our hats on that actually help us learn to incorporate neurodiversity, like diversity in thought, diversity in understanding. Like, I'm a Northerner. Like, I'm not used to corporate prayer. I already prayed, you know? And so, but just understanding like these types of things and how they kind of fit into how people connect, how people relate, and then how it transfers into them doing their jobs.
You're a Yankee, where you from?
Chicago.
Okay, you got it. I got a Midwestern voice like, accent like you.
Yeah. I don't have an accent. What you mean?
Everybody else does.
I'm really the only one who doesn't have an accent.
Because I noticed that you didn't, I don't like a
Yeah.
Chicago, yeah.
The one thing is, in terms of the value of ASSP or any of these groups, is support.
Mhm.
You know, usually most places people are kind of out on an island and they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And the one thing we've always encouraged is just the networking and support. Hey, there's this guy 30 miles from here and, you know, I'm calling him. Who do you get to do this? You know, what's your supplier? Who's good for this? You know, just a way of cutting through things, just somebody to talk to, somebody to get support from, people you trust to, you know, reach out to, because so often we see all the stuff we get in Google searches, we see the stuff in the literature we've got, and, you know, we're not really looking at TripAdvisor to find out if this is a good hotel stay in or not. It's like, who can you rely on? And that's one of the things this group does do, is gives you a professional network, you know, to help you in your job. And that's what these meetings really are. Now, the other thing is, you know, part about this thing is our forming partnerships to reach out with other groups, whether it's AGC, ABC, you name it, whatever the trade group is, to basically spread the message, give the support, because there's people out there doing safety. It's not in their title, but they could still be very much involved and benefit from being here, you know, whether it's through Zoom or just the awareness, getting the newsletters, you know, the information. So
basically, if you're in safety, you're the Rodney Dangerfield of your organization, most of the time anyway. Don't feel too bad about not feeling all that respected. As Randy was pointing out, you can certainly increase your value to them by speaking their language. The couple things I wanted to just announce. I'm Matt Holland. I'm UA Safe State, and I'm also the section chair for the Tuscaloosa, West Alabama section. We'll be having our meeting, next meeting coming up on October 6th, Friday. Trying to get back on first Fridays, and that one was the first one available to us. Guest presenter to be announced, and so I think to your point, yeah, finding out what people are interested in. We did a survey here fairly recently to try to identify people's interests and so forth, and I don't know if we kind of shared that out with everybody or.
That should be that packet I sent last time.
Okay. And do we have any recall of like certain areas in particular that people sort of showed particular interest in?
Not really. There were some general comments. There's some good comments.
As I was remembering, there was no real clear space there. It kind of tells me that people's interests are all over the map.
Or it's still not getting out to the people that we needed to, like the survey to get to.
But there is one thing also I'd like to throw out is University of Alabama is migrating into the College of Engineering. We have, for most of our existence, been in the College of Continuing Studies at university, which is kind of that adult education, professional education type area. That through some machinations that took place, we are now actually October 1 officially, we will now be in the School of Engineering or in the College of Engineering. So I feel like that's going to, as an organization for us, really potentially change our dynamic in some certain very meaningful ways. And I think the collaboration that we're going to have working with the School of Engineering opens some, what I'm hoping will be some really, really great opportunities, particularly when we work with clients and we identify issues. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to maybe engage some of the really fine minds that we've got in the College of Engineering to, work towards even better solutions for some of the issues that are out there. So, Range Point, we are free of charge. Please, if you're a smaller company, or of a small contractor or something like that, we're more than happy to help, and you can't beat the price. Last thing, Harwood grants. We've got a couple of Harwood grants that we're working with right now. We're doing that in collaboration with the School of Engineering. Been doing them for a bit. We got one that's about to end at the end of September on infectious disease control, but we still have training slots available through the month of September. Those can be done in person. They can be done virtually. We do them at awareness level and train the trainer, a little longer form, like about a half day, 3-hour type of thing. We got that program going on, and then we've also got an ongoing heat stress training program. Again, on site, virtually. Been doing more train the trainer with that, and so they're free of charge. They're paid for under the Harwood grant. We would cross state lines. I was just up in Tennessee earlier this week speaking at one of their conferences, and I had a bunch of people up there saying, "Oh, you guys will come up to Tennessee and do this stuff?" I said, yeah, that's kind of what they want us to actually. So, I'm hoping we get a bunch of takers up there on that. So it's a great training program. We got some really good talented people who are helping deliver that free of charge, and that will continue on. Also, that's delivered in Spanish as well. We have a Spanish language instructor who lives in Florida. So depending on the area of the state, might be able to do that in person, but virtually, of course, that can be done anywhere. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, give me your card, and we will get you hooked up.
When you do presentations in Tennessee, do you change from that ugly crimson color to a beautiful orange?
No, but when I cross the state line, I can somehow feel my IQ dropping.
Make you stand on the table and sing Rocky Top.
In case, going for what Matt's talking about heat. There's been an NEP on heat for a while, ocean initiatives, but the one thing that has come out recently was the White House issued a statement that basically emphasized heat awareness. It was basically kind of instructing OSHA to do more heat inspections and to find more heat hazards, i.e. violations. So, and when you've got the White House mentioning something, and a lot of times you don't even think they know that OSHA exists, you know. You can look for a response. I know the area director mentioned that in a meeting a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, just be aware. It's still August and, you know, heat can go on.
Next
well
week
into
is
fall.
also gonna be more prolific.
Yeah, and one of the things that with the heat is, one of the things that's really out there is staying away from the HIPAA laws, but making sure we identify that person. The things that cause some of these prior to having a heat stroke 15 years ago. You have to have something again, and some
Conditions, medications.
yes, and that's very important. That's what we stress, and we're not wanting to know that because we're gonna fire you or anything. We just need to know some things. You know, even if you're a diabetic, you walking out the gate, you pass out, nobody knows what's going on. If you, hey, go get a candy bar, give it to the guy. It helped, you know, and we're trying to stay away from, like I said, the HIPAA laws as much as we can, all this voluntary. That's very important information to know that person. And we do that by, you know, small groups, everybody sharing with one another if there is a health problem. Not that we're gonna retaliate or anything like that, or we don't want you in here, but that's not what it is. We just need to know.
And that gets to a deeper question of like, can you develop trust in a company? Can you develop trust with your employees that I'm not gonna be retaliated against if I say, okay, I've got this issue that makes me more susceptible to heat or, you know, stress or whatever.
We've been doing some heat stress personal monitoring, as part of our service, and that is one of the key points that we talk about with, and we don't do it from a voluntary compliance standpoint. We're just doing this from what are the tools, some of the tools that are out there that can help improve your overall heat management system, your heat illness programs. But that is a very significant question, as we have this data pertaining to how you're performing, you know, out in the field, how you're doing. It's measuring core temperatures, measuring sweat rates and things like that. It's measuring some of the core heart rate as well, because as you start losing fluid, your heart rate's going to go up, try and compensate for the loss of circulatory fluid. And so, what do you do with that data? As a management group, what are you going to do with that? And the trust building part becomes a really significant area in working through that. You know, as you were saying, kind of creating a sense of team, really, in keeping those things managed.
And they understand when they really see you buying the better hydrant, the all sports and the things that cost twice more than the other, and just getting the nickel and dime stuff. And that's what we try to do, is just invest in our people. And they see, they understand, they know, they pay. And shade, rest, and hydrate, that means a lot too. When you let them take extra breaks, they really understand that.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is, as you start looking at the heat effects on people, look at their productivity rates. Watch these guys for a bit. What are they doing? Are they actually doing work? Are they standing their hands on their hips, looking down, you know, just trying to catch your breath, you know? That doesn't really resemble work. That resembles somebody who's trying to recover while they're supposed to be working. So your productivity is typically going to track that. So people say we can't afford to take that many breaks. They're going to take them anyway, you know. So let's just kind of do this in a more visible kind of way, in a more programmed kind of way, and get them refreshed so that they can get back out inside.
Recovery takes place more quickly, so your productivity goes up.
Right. They can rebound faster if they're not just, you know, getting that much closer to falling off the edge.
And a lot of times that rebound can take days if you don't.
Right.
You know, prevent it. It's not a one and done. Your system's got to recover. And the issue of hydration, I don't think anybody really understands how much water you need to drink to be hydrated. Most people, I think, are dehydrated on a normal basis. And you get into the healthy worker effect. You can be healthy, and with the heat we've been having, you just look at how much liquid, how much you're sweating out, your loss. That can be a very individual thing, but this is where we come back to where we're dealing with people, this is not, so you have to look at them, you have to care for them, and really, rest shape, the whole thing.
And acclimation too.
Oh, yeah.
It takes
Very-
people.
That is, I was just about to
Very, very well said. Very well said.
Yeah, the recommended acclimatization period runs about a week and it starts out at about 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, that type of thing. And people go, about that, but
afford to do that.
yeah,
Some people are more than that.
yeah, some people more than that. That does not guarantee that you're gonna be fully acclimatized at the end of a week. But if you are working with people who are not acclimatized, those are the people you gotta be paying extra special attention
Go get in
to.
the truck.
Their birth rates are not gonna be anywhere close to their actual need for, hydration. They're in the early going, until they acclimatize, they're gonna be sweating out more electrolytes too. What part of the acclimation is that you begin to retain more of your electrolytes. You'll sweat to wet the skin, but you will not lose quite as much in the way of, salts and things like that. In the early going, your body doesn't know any difference, and so you're sweating out electrolytes left and right. So there's a lot of important things that are happening during that acclimatization process that a lot of managers don't even know. They're not even aware of what physiological changes are taking place and why you need to do that. So getting educated, taking a Harwood class on heat stress is a good way to try to get your IQ up.
I tell you, last Saturday, I did 140 ounces, but I started early. But that's what I took in that day, 140 ounces. Actually, it was 6 bottles of 20-ounce water, and it was 2 bottles of 20-ounce Gatorade. Yeah. And that was it. That was starting about 6:30. I went ahead and started early, drank a bottle, and then it was through the day. I felt like I needed it, not when I just wanted it. I felt like, oh, I needed it. Then I thought I'd come home and I figured it up. I told the wife, she said, what does that mean? I said, that means I lost a lot of water that day.
Smaller amounts during the day.
And I stay out a good bit during the day, but I didn't work. I worked more. I did more physical labor with the pressure washer and with the grass, with the weed eater and things like that day. I did more physical work. Not that I was just running an experiment or not, because I was trying to catch up on some things that I got behind on,
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was just out and about doing some activities we had. And I could tell late in the day, it's like, it wasn't terrible, but it was something. And it lasted for like 3 days. I didn't feel normal for about 3 days, no matter how much I drank.
And I felt whooped that afternoon. I was whooped. I was whooped.
Yes.
I was whooped. That's what I was. And my wife said, you okay? And I was okay, but I didn't do a good day's work, and I could feel it. The next day I got up, I was good.
Well, the former OSHA CAS was talking about the guy that was there someplace doing yard work, custom to whatever. And he's seen a guy out there and he is just about passed out. So, there's this thing where you have to watch out for people, because there's a lot of people out working by themselves. And, shame they had that heart attack that day at that time. Nobody, that's, the first thing goes, but those issues.
Thank y'all for coming. I'll see you September